NFL Rants. Michael Pallas will bring you the latest news and opinions on the NFL every weekday. WBUR-FM, only a game podcast. An award-winning weekly sports magazine for the serious sports fan and the steadfast sports avoider. Shralp, snowboarding video news. Since October 2005, Shralp covers people, WST contests, competitions, powder, big mountains riding, tricks, products, events, video previews, and everything else that matters in the snowboard scene. The Fantasy Football Guys. The Fantasy Football Guys have been helping win leagues since 2005. If you like reasoned advice and quirky humor, these two dudes might be for you. New England Patriots audio. Veteran reporter Mike Petraglia provides the most in-depth and provocative audio coverage of the six-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. Golf Smarter. Like you, host Fred Green is searching for ways to improve and has learned that all the pros agree to raise your golf IQ and lower your scores, you need to golf smarter. 606 Football Phone-In. Your football calls and reaction with Robbie Savage and Emma Jones. Cheap Heat with Peter Rosenberg. Peter Rosenberg and stat guy Greg break down pro wrestling on a show that can only be described as the world's first MAJ-cast. Gambling Chalk Talk Podcast. Coach and his wide variety of guests give sports betting tips and cover the latest news in football, baseball, basketball, and all other major sporting events. Baseball America. The staff of BA delivers its take on what's going on in the world of baseball every week on its podcast, analyzing the game from the majors and minors with an emphasis on prospects through our unparalleled college and high school coverage. ESPN on Ice. ESPN Greg Wyshynski and Emily Kaplan talk all things NHL and hockey culture with the biggest names in the game, ESPN stable of experts and puckheads of all walks of life. ESPN First Take. Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman join host Molly Karen Rose on this weekday morning sports debate show. Football Guys. Calm the Audible. The Audible is serious fantasy football information and NFL discussion from the draft to the playoffs. SportsPod State of Mind. Join Anzalone and Bennett as they break down the latest stories in the world of sports, providing fresh and unscripted takes guaranteed to create controversy. ESPN Radio SVP and Russell. Sports Center's Scott Van Pelt and former radio co-host and ESPN personality Ryan Russillo discuss what's on their minds in the sports world, give listeners advice, talk with athletes, and just have a lot of fun. The Sneak. The Sneak tells true crime stories from in and around the world of sports. around the NFL. The NFL podcast crew assembles to discuss the latest news around the league. Pardon My Take. Pardon My Take is a comedic sports thrice weekly podcast created by Barstool Sports. Skip and Shannon, Undisputed. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp offer hot takes on this daily 2.5-hour sports debate show. 5 Live's Football Daily. ESPN Daily. ESPN Daily. The Football History Dude Podcast. The Football History Dude Podcast. The Swingdom. 30 for 30. Original audio documentaries from the makers of the acclaimed 30 for 30 film series, featuring stories from the world of sports and beyond. ESPN Fantasy Focused Baseball. ESPN fantasy experts Eric Carable and Tristan Cockcroft provide strategy, game overviews, and injury reports. Jalen And Jacoby. The Rich Eisen Podcast. Rich will mix football analysis with pop culture humor and interviews with the biggest names in sports and entertainment. House of Run. ESPN Baseball Tonight with Buster Olney. Grilling Jr. Fantasy Football Today Podcast. Then Blazers. A review of the weekend's Premier League matches with the comedic duo of Michael Davis and Roger Bennett. Checkered Flag Formula 1. Football Weekly. Football Weekly. The Lowe Post. The Lowe Post. The Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show daily talk show that starts with sports and quickly moves into politics, current events, entertainment, and, really, whatever happens to be on Tony's mind that day. ESPN Around the Horn. Hosted by Tony Reilly in the ESPN studio, and joined via satellite by 4 sports reporters from across the country, the team debates popular sports stories. ESPN Fantasy Focus Football. Fantasy Focus Football. ESPN fantasy experts Matthew Berry, Field Yates, and Stephania Bell provide daily strategy, previews, and injury reports. NFL, the Dave Dameshek Football Podcast. Dave Dameshek sets his gaze on the NFL landscape to analyze, celebrate, and when necessary offer improvements to America's true national pastime from a true fan's perspective. The Bill Simmons Podcast. HBO and The Ringer's Bill Simmons hosts the most downloaded sports podcast of all time, with a rotating crew of celebrities, athletes, and media staples. The Dan Patrick Show on PodcastOne. includes interviews and discussions with the biggest stars in sports and entertainment. ESPN, pardon the interruption. Washington Post sports writers Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon engage in high-energy discussions, conduct interviews, and often argue over topics not even related to sports. The Steve Austin Show Unleashed. Steve shares tales from his new life, unbelievable past adventures, talks to pro wrestling pals. You name it, Steve's on it. Unscripted W/Mike and Chris. Mike Jansen and Chris Lowe host this sports podcast that can go in any number of directions.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video then. Take care. Bye.